Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to talk a little about this today because it's really important if you're planning to take a domestic flight in the US. If you don't have a real ID before that final deadline, you might not be able to fly within the country or even get into certain federal buildings. So in this video, I just want to go over this a bit so you can have some more details. So the deadline is coming up soon. It's May 7th, 2025. If you don't have a real ID yet, this is the time to get it done before May 7th, especially if you're planning to take a domestic flight. And even if you're not planning to fly anytime soon, it's still a good idea to have a real ID because you never know. There could be an emergency where you need to fly. It's better to have it than not have it when you really need it. Let me pull up a few examples so that if you're not quite sure what a real ID is, you can take a look and get a better idea. And here I've got a few examples so you can see what a real ID looks like. Now, if you have a driver's license, take a look at the top right corner. You might see one of these three symbols. It could be a star, a flag, or the word enhanced. These symbols indicate that your ID meets the real ID requirements. If you don't see any of these, then your ID might not be a real ID, and you may need to update it before the deadline. So if you have a driver's license or just a state ID and you see one of these symbols on it, whether it's a star, a flag, or the word enhanced, that means your ID meets the real ID requirements. You'll be able to use it for domestic flights and meet the airport security requirements starting May 7th, 2025. If for some reason you don't have a driver's license or your ID doesn't meet the real ID requirements, don't worry, you still have other options. There are certain forms of identification that TSA accepts which can be used instead of a real ID. For example, you can use a U.S. passport or a U.S. passport card. Those are valid documents that allow you to fly domestically without any issues. Besides that, there are also a few other forms of identification that can work that depending on what you have. You can see them listed here. But the main thing to keep in mind is that if your current ID or driver's license doesn't meet the real ID standards, you're not completely out of options. You just need to have one of the other acceptable forms of ID ready, starting from May 7, 2025, so you don't run into any problems when traveling. Okay, everyone, this is just a little something I wanted to share about this topic. I'll see you in the next videos. Thank you so much.